We are a German foundation that has been here in Kenya for over 50 years, and we are promoting democracy. I don't know how many of you know what democracy stands for. We are trying to shape democracy. Yeah? Democracy has origins in the Greek language, demo for people, and krasi meaning power, isn't it? Do you have power? Yeah? Do you feel like we are a democratic society? Do we have power? Yeah? Bado. Yeah? Yeah, and our constitution talks about power belonging to the people, isn't it? Yeah? And the people includes people with disability, isn't it? It is not minus people with disability. It includes the 11% that we have counted through K.I.S.E and other researchers that have disability. So we are, as Conrad, we are trying to promote inclusion of people with disability in our political processes, but also in our governance processes. So we started a project together with the Office of the Government Spokesperson called Inclusive Communication. Inclusive communication, starting from the standpoint that knowledge is siski sauti. Knowledge is power. So if we access information, we have power, isn't it? So we have brought together with the OGSP a number of stakeholders here so that we can interact and we can share information. We can educate each other from what is the law saying, what are they doing, and what are we, as people with disability, those who have disability, what do we need from them? And this today is a checkpoint for where we are before next year's general election. We are going to move forward together and fight for the rights of people with disability and ensure that you enjoy equality. Ama sivyo? Yeah, so let's educate each other, let's empower each other, let's dialogue and learn. Equality for all. Equality for? Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a little bit of ice breaking? What is K.I.S.E? You can just say it generally. Now clap for yourselves. At this juncture, I invite Mr. Simon Wachira to welcome us and usher us into the panel discussion session. Kindly give him a warm round of applause. Give him a warm round of applause as he gets to the stage.
Good morning. How are you? Are you happy today? If you're happy, any clap once. If you're happy, any smile a bit. Thank you very much. Appreciate yourself. So today is such an important day because just about a year, almost a year after the enactment of the Persons with Disabilities Act 2025, we are encouraged that we are now shaping the conversation. And I'm very happy that we are starting the conversation right now. My name is Simon Wachira. I've been very involved in this process, also at the National Council, at Parliament, also supporting this process of development of the National Inclusive Communication Guidelines as a communication expert as well as a lawyer. So allow me to request my panelists to join us. And starting as off is Dr. Michael Monene, who is the CEO of the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. Let's appreciate him. Then we have Mr. Nathaniel Mongare, UDA Communications Director. Karibu sana. Then we have Mr. Albert Gogo, IBC County Election Manager for Nairobi City County. Karibu sana. And then we have Honorable Bridget Jeptum Songok, an MCA, prominent disability rights advocate, and a human resource manager by profession. Karibu sana. Karibu sana. You can be here. And then we have a representative from the political parties, Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. Yes, you're representing, yes. Please, Karibu. All right, I have now my full panel well constituted, but allow me to really give you their profiles very fast, because Maina, I have how many minutes? Where is Maina? SK. Or how many minutes? Yeah, 25. 25, about 30. Okay. Yeah? 45 minutes. All right. All right. And the way we clap is when you say because of that, we clap. Because of that. So we are here to discuss disability issues and rights. And because of that. And you'll be participating in the plenary. And because of that. Thank you very much. Okay. So let me start very fast by sharing the profiles. Nathaniel Mongare is a leader shaped by values, faith, and responsibility. He's a progressive political voice and bold advocate for social justice. He's a community mobilizer and a philanthropist through Candles Foundation. He currently serves as Director of Communication for the United Democratic Alliance Party. Beginning my coffee. And we have Bridget Songok, who is a prominent Kenyan politician, disability rights advocate, and community leader. She is a human resource manager by profession. She is the Secretary General of County Assembly Disability Caucus and also the chair of UDA Disability Caucus. She is currently serving as a nominated member of County Assembly in the county government of Nandi, specifically representing persons with disabilities under UDA. She was born with clubfoot condition and has openly shared her personal experiences overcoming barriers. She co-founded the Clubfoot Society of Kenya to offer free physiotherapy, counseling, and specialized surgical boots to adults with the condition. She's a founder of Warembo and Disabilities, Beauties with Disabilities, and Sister for Sisters initiatives, which focuses on empowering women with disabilities and distributing sanitary hygiene products to schoolgirls' healthcare outreach. In partnership with local authorities, she has organized free medical camps across Nandi County, offering vital screenings for cancer, diabetes, and hypertension, and has distributed assistive devices such as wheelchairs to locals. Within the assembly, she's a vocal prominent for inclusive development, publicly urging parents to avoid or to end the concealment of children with disabilities, and pushing for broader regional infrastructure accessibility. Makofi ya kilo. Nimesema kilo, kwa hivyo heavier. Makofi ya kilo. Thank you very much. Let me share very shortly about Dr. Michael Munene. Dr. Michael Munene is the CEO of the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. Previously, he served as a board member of the SAVE organization, and is also coming from academia. He has over 18 years of senior level experience across public sector and academia and policy, He holds a PhD in Universal Design, a Master in Sustainable Design, and a first-class honors degree in Universal Interior Design from the University of Nairobi. So he was also a winner of the 2023 Disability Inclusion Award for PWD Inclusion Champion and has led significant international research and accessible public transport and inclusive built environments campaigns supported by Volvo Research and Educational Foundation. So Dr. Michael Monene is currently the person bearing the responsibility of ensuring that we realize the new act. Makofi ya kilo. And of course, Mr. Albert Gogo, he'll tell us more about himself, the IBC County Election Manager for Nairobi City County. And then Anastasia, who represents the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. Kwa hivyo mambo ya MCAs, why counties are not nominating persons with disabilities, why don't we have some counties nominating persons with disabilities? We want to hear some of those questions. And also, IBC bears some of those questions. So now to start us off, are you ready? And because of that, if you're ready and you know, clap once. Thank you very much. Who do we start with? The voice of the people is the voice of God. Democracy. Tuanze na nani? National Council? IBC? Who? IBC. Shooting the first question. IBC. We have elections in just about 1 year. And the question that persons with disabilities are interested in is, one, what innovative strategies can the IBC implement to ensure that electoral processes are fully accessible to persons with disabilities, addressing challenges such as physical barriers, communication needs, and attitudinal biases? Even before he answers, is there any person in this room who has ever faced any difficulty while trying to vote as a person with disability? Or do you know someone? Tuinue mkono. Is there someone who has? Yes. There are quite a number of people. This is Fritz Bissau. Fritz Bissau is a blind person. He works with the Foreign Affairs, and he can actually ride a bicycle, and he plays football. Pigeni makofi. You'll ask him how he does that. He'll tell you how he does it. All right. So there are people in the room, tuinue mkono tena. There are people in the room who have faced difficulties in voting, and you're a person with disability. Any person who has even voter registration, any challenge. Voter registration, yes. Voting, accessing information about campaigns around voter registration. So you can see, Albert, there are clearly challenges. What are you doing to address these challenges from the question that has been asked? Thank you very much. Okay, you can use this one. Don't worry.
Thank you. As you've been told, my name is Albert Gogo. I work with IBC. I've been with IBC for the last 16 years, rising up from a constituency election coordinator, constituency returning officer, growing to a regional election manager. I've been an election manager at the head office, and currently I'm the county election manager responsible for Nairobi City County. I'm happy to be here, especially in a gathering with persons with disability. This is a very important demographic for us because it's one area where we keep on learning. Inclusion for persons with disability is something that the Commission is committed. If you look at the last enhanced voter registration drive, one of the keywords in that drive was inclusive voter registration. So persons with disabilities are critical in that sector for inclusion, but we also want to cover everybody else in the country, minorities, even youth, older people, very many people, even the middle class that we think is learned. Their participation is not the strongest. So we are also looking at inclusion of that particular demography of people who are middle class, but they don't participate. On election day, they find that it's a public holiday for them to enjoy themselves. So inclusion is for everyone, but for this particular meeting, we are keen on listening to the challenges that persons with disabilities are facing when they access our services, but also we'll be happy to hear feedback on positive things that we have done so far that have proved to be very valuable to you as well, so that we can enhance on those ones that we are doing well, but most importantly, focus on those areas where you are still facing challenges so that we minimize, if not eliminate them completely. Now, I've been asked a question: what innovative strategies are we putting in place to ensure we have accessibility to persons with disability? Now, so far, our first point of entry is gathering information about these persons with disability. Now, the first point of contact that we have with persons with disabilities is at the point of voter registration. In our voter registration form, we do capture details as to whether the applicant has any disability. And we go further to find out what kind of disability they could be living with. Now, that information is captured on the application form. It is also captured in the KIMS device, and therefore it goes to our central database. So in our central database of registered voters, we have details of persons with disability and the type of disability that they have, and therefore it's the first point from where we can mine that information, break it down to county, constituency, ward, and even the polling station where this person is going to vote. With that information, then we are able to customize the kind of service that we anticipate our clients will require at those polling stations. So that is the first area where we get information about those who register to vote. But we also have many other persons with disability who do not register to vote, but they still need information from the commission. And therefore, we have generic ways of handling such persons. Now, as the Deputy Director of K.I.S.E has rightly said, the Commission approached Kenya Institute of Special Education to learn about how to deal with persons with disabilities. Because staff, we have workshops where our capacity on handling persons with disability is enhanced, but it's never enough. So we have a very strong collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Special Education to gain expertise on how to deal with this particular category of our population. We get our sign language interpreters for our events from Kenya Institute of Special Education. And every time we train our election officials, we invite officers from Kenya Institute of Special Education to come and speak to us. During the development of our strategic plan that will be launched soon, the 2024-2029 strategic plan, inclusion is key. The new commission that came on board last year is very particular about inclusion. And that's why in that strategic plan that will be launched soon, I cannot speak about it. That's the work of the chairman and the commissioners. But when they launch it, persons coming from this particular sector are playing a critical role, and some of them will be keynote speakers during that launch. Inclusion is at the center of the 2024-2029 strategic plan and the 2027 election operation plan. So yes, once we have captured the details about where our voters who are persons with disabilities are, then the next thing is how do we ensure that the services they access are accessible. So one of the things that we do is we select polling stations that are accessible to persons with disabilities. We may have a center that has multiple rooms. We ensure that every polling center has rooms that are accessible to persons with disabilities, and those polling stations specifically that have a person with disability, we give priority to rooms that have accessibility. So that is one of the things that we consider. If we have, let's say, 12 polling stations and we have a few on first floor, we ensure that those that have personal disabilities will be on the ground floor and have a ramp where possible so that persons can access that. The other thing that we normally do, we give priority services to persons with disability. If it is during registration of voters, our clerks have been trained to spot persons with disability and give them priority service. So if there's a long queue, we allow them direct access to get that service. On polling day, we also have that same arrangement for them to do their services in the earliest or shortest time possible. Now, we normally, for communication, all our stakeholder engagements, we must have a sign language interpreter to ensure that we are able to reach out to our audience. Previously, it was not there, but right now, for every event, there is a budget for the hiring of sign language interpreters, whether it is at a national event, a county event, or a constituency event. There has to be a sign language interpreter to ensure that there's communication. There's a plan to have staff be trained on the Kenya Sign Language, but that's a long-term activity because it requires funding, which we are trying to get from government. And if that is the case, then our core staff, especially at the constituency level, will be trained on the Kenya Sign Language to ensure that they're able to communicate at that level. The other area that we are doing is to use our data, the data that we capture during registration, the data that we capture during stakeholder forums. We use it to build our database and prepare constituency-specific initiatives to service persons with disability. But I'll be willing to receive feedback from the audience here on more areas that we may have overlooked or we are doing, but we are not doing it to the level of your expectation, so that we can go and incorporate the same in our plans. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And because this is like bunge, you can tap your feet. For those who are comfortable, you can clap. Yeah, so whichever way you're comfortable with. So we'll be hearing, because I noticed that a number of persons with invisible disabilities have actually experienced difficulties voting and in this process. So we'll be hearing, with those very good plans, what is the problem? So we'll be hearing on that, because I'll give you an opportunity to ask some questions, and I'll be coming to you very shortly. But let me go to Bridget. If we make counties work in this country, counties get over 300 billion annually. This equalization fund in some counties, especially in the extreme ones. Yes, thank you very much. This equalization fund that we already have. This budget in the county. There are so many other laws that are creating funds, such as climate change fund law, such as sports fund, such as disaster risk, such as benefits sharing. What would you say county governments are doing? Because you are a representative of Kadika, County Disability Caucus. What are MCAs, especially wale wanatuwakilisha, MCAs with disabilities doing to ensure pesa inafika mashinani na interest za walemavu zinaangaliwa kwa county assemblies na kwa county governments?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you can speak with this.
Thank you so much for that important question. And before I answer you, today is a special day for me. It's a World Clubfoot Day. It is on 3rd, we celebrate the people with clubfoot. And our team today, the team today is see early, treat early, run free. Every child deserves the opportunity to work, run, and achieve their full potential.
Because of that?
Okay, back to your question. Special elect, especially nominated MCS representing people with disability, we play a critical role in ensuring that rights and interests of persons with disability are incorporated into county governance. By promoting disability inclusive legislation. As you all know that the work of MCA is to do oversight, to represent, and to legislative. So we sponsor and support the county laws that protect the rights of people with disability and promote accessibility, inclusion, and non-discrimination. We review the existing county legislation to ensure compliance with the Constitution of Kenya. The Person with Disability Act that was signed by the President, we align with it. And again, the framework, such as the United Nations Convention of the Rights with Disability. And we advocate the policies requiring disability mainstreaming across all the county departments. Number 2, we influence the county budgeting process, whereby we push for disability responsive budgeting and allocation, adequate resources to disability programs. We also advocate for dedicated budget line supporting assistive device, whereby, for example, I give an example in my budget for 2025, 2026, 2027, whereby I, Bridget, have allocated 10 million for assistive device for people with disability. Yes, in Nandi County. And again, we monitor budget implementation to ensure funds intended for people with disability programs are utilized through the committees. We have the committee specifically for people with disability. We call the social welfare. That is a committee whereby I have my own waziri. So we have the budget for us. That is 5 plus the 10 million, which is 15 million in Nandi County. A clap for that. And also we have a committee for sports, whereby people with disability in Nandi County, we have been having issues whereby when it's come to time for the sports, we are being left behind. Like, we don't have our own budget. And the county government mostly depend in national government. Like, I've been having issue with my waziri whereby if I tell him to allocate, executive to allocate the funds for sports, he normally tells me that the national government have not devolved the duties for sports to county. So we have been having ups and downs in the whole counties, in 47 counties. Yes. Another thing is enhancing public participation. Before the budgeting process, we need to do public participation. And here, we make sure that the place where we hold the public participation, it should be inclusive. 1, we should have a sign interpreter. The place should be friendly for people with disability, especially to the wheelchairs users. Number 2, we should have the braille, of which I don't want to lie, in Nandi County we don't have braille. Yes, that is the limit. I rather confess the truth, because someone can Google, we don't have that. The last one, strengthening oversight and accountability, whereby we monitor county executive compliance with disability laws and policies. In Nandi County, I have an opportunity to pass, it's called Nandi County Bill, and we have people with disability of Nandi policies. Yes, it is working. And we demand regular reports on disability inclusion indicators in county development projects. We use assembly committees to scrutinize county programs and ensure they address the needs of people with disability. Last is building and strategy partnership, whereby we collaborate with disability organization like National Council, civil service groups, development partners, and national government agency to advance rights, disability rights. Thank you.
And because of that, thank you for the great work that you're doing. One of the things that the sector will be requesting is that we want county governments to know that Persons with Disabilities Act 2025 also binds counties. Si kama kitambo, where ilikuwa inaambiwa ni a national. So it's important, and it is Kadika that will be doing that. It is important to know that currently, at the board of the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, there is even a board member, representing COG, county governments, currently. And because of that, ili pesa zifike mashinani kwa walemavu popote walipo. I think that's very important. Now, let me go to political parties, the register of political parties. And I want to tie that with IBC. According to WHO, 2016, 16% of any population in any country has a disability. What does that mean? The moment we exclude persons with disabilities from elective process, it is like saying every Kikuyu in Kenya, because Kikuyus are about 17%, is not voting. It is that serious. The moment we exclude persons with disabilities, the moment our stations are not accessible, the moment we don't provide clear information for participation of persons with disabilities, it is like saying 16% of the population is excluded. It is that serious. Let that sink. Ni kama kusema mtu yote mwenye anasema Murima Aterere cannot vote or is not accessed by information. It is that serious. Now let's go to register of political parties. One, how are you ensuring that political parties are compliant as far as inclusion is concerned? Are they registering persons with disabilities? Are their offices accessible? Do they have structures such as party leagues, NEC, among others, that have representation of persons with disabilities? How exactly are you dealing with that? Because part of the reason why we are not having nominated persons with disabilities in so many counties in Kenya in the last 3 election cycles is political parties are also not doing enough to nominate and ensure the participation of persons with disabilities. Ukweli ama urongo? Ukweli. So mikakati gani shirika lenyu linafanya ili kuhimiza walemavu wawe wanawakilishwa na wawe wanaongoza na wawe members wa vyama?
Thank you very much. My name is Anastasia Kabirere. The Office of Registrar of Political Parties, I head the capacity building of political parties, so I interact quite a lot with the persons with disability through the forums that we organize to promote inclusivity. I want to, first of all, ask ourselves to ask this one question. Political parties are a vehicle to a political leadership. How many of us are members of a political party? How many of us? Because I know the people that we have here are leaders within various spaces. So ask yourself, are you a member of any political party? Alongside that, the members that we have of political parties, they ought to be registered voters. Because the ultimate goal of being in a political leadership, if I may use the language they use, is to capture power. So if you're in a political party, are you a registered voter so that you can be of a value to that political party so that you can actually be able to participate and help the leaders capture the power? So if you answer that and your answer is yes, I want now to go on and now say what we do as the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties to ensure that political parties are inclusive. We do a number of things in the office. We have the incentive that we have for political parties. We also have support mechanism and accountability mechanism to ensure that political parties are accountable, and we can actually be able to hold them to account. Number one, if I may start with incentive, because incentive is what I want to speak about and what we do with it. Prior to 2022 general election, we had legal reform. We spearheaded the legal reform, and we are looking at the formula that was being used to distribute the political party fund, and we thought the special interest groups were not benefiting appropriately. So what we did, we spearheaded that reform, and it went through, and that is where we got a 15% of the fund that goes to political party. We now give them as incentive for being inclusive for the special interest group. And the special interest group, because there has been an issue and we are again under another legal reform to now separate the special interest group and say, who is this special interest group? We no longer want to address them as the Act is addressing them currently. That fund, the 15%, we give to the political parties in line with the number of candidates they have from persons with disability, women, and the youth. So again, we also check, after we have given them, we also check the fund that we give to the political party overall. We also check, and there is a requirement of the Act that they also need to have another 15% that is used to promote the participation of a special interest group in the parliament and in the county assembly. How do we check that as the Office of Registrar of Political Parties? We require political parties to bring us a work plan that shows that they have provisions on how they are going to how the special interest groups are going to participate in their activities. They will bring the work plan. At the end of the day, they also have the reporting period, so they report back, and that report normally comes to our office, a copy, and the other report goes to the Auditor General, who is now supposed to audit into how the political parties are utilizing that fund. The other thing that we do with political parties to hold them to account, as the Office of Registrar with a mandate to check the compliance of political parties, we hold quarterly audit of political party processes. We check whether they are complying with the law. In the membership, they are required to be inclusive. We check that. In the governing body of political parties, we also check, are they included? In the initial, when we are registering political parties, they are supposed to be inclusive in line with the law. And we also keep on checking. Every time political parties want to make changes, because they keep on making changes, they tend to forget that there was a requirement for inclusion. So for our office, it is for us to ensure that if a change has been done, that it does not now violate the inclusivity that was set in the beginning when the party was being registered. So they must be able to maintain that status for the life of the political party. What is at our disposal? If political parties are not inclusive, we have at our disposal, we give them sanctions, and that is a very good background for them to be deregistered by the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. We also have another measure that we take. If political parties are not inclusive, we are able to withhold fund until they comply, because that is a violation of our compliance. We do not fund political parties that are in violation of the compliance measures. So we are able, the registrar is empowered to withhold fund until political parties comply fully with the law. So other things that we do as ways of supporting, I said we use incentive, we also support political parties and accountability measures. We also do capacity building. I am the head of capacity building programs at the Office of Registrar of Political Parties. I have had a number of programs for specifically for persons with disability, and I want to say, and that's why I start by asking ourselves, are we members of political parties? Because at times I find myself, political parties, we do a letter to them, we ask them to send us the governing body officials of political parties for a certain meeting for persons with disability. And you see an able-bodied person just walking in majestically too, and then I'm like, we are wondering how did we get here? And you will hear political parties at times telling us that these people, we don't find them. That is why I am wanting us to start by holding ourselves to account before even we hold other people to account. So we normally do a lot of forums, and these forums now helps to capacity build the persons with disability so that we can even increase the pool of those people who want and who are interested in participating in elections. The other thing that we normally do, or we have done in the recent past, we have leagues within political parties. I have also been able to organize many forums for the leagues. But beyond that, we thought as the Office of Registrar of Political Parties, those leagues belong to individually to political parties. And as an office to enhance to the way the voice and the networking of the political party leagues, we thought we could help. And we spearheaded in the month of June last year, we spearheaded the establishment of multinational multinational political party caucus. These caucus have representation from various caucuses within other political parties. They come so that they can help us. There is the advocacy bit of it. We are looking at it that when we harness their voices as a multinational political party PWD caucus, they can actually be able to harness their voice. They can advocate for their issues. They can also help us at the Office of Registrar of Political Parties to advise on areas that we can actually do better in terms of inclusivity of persons with disability. As I come to the end, we also, in the same breath, after we launched the multinational party PWD caucus, we also now, together with the representatives that were nominated by political parties, we did develop a disability inclusion charter. The charter has various commitments, and the charter has various actions that we together with the various political parties nominated representative, we were able to come up with it. Why did we come up with the charter? The charter is helping now the Office of Registrar of Political Parties to hold the political parties to account. This is the commitment that we have set aside. These are the actions that you need to take. So it becomes very easy for the office to be able to measure in terms of how political parties are faring on in terms of inclusion. I think we'll be speaking more if I'm given another opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So because you've told us that there are some political parties you've asked for information on membership, on also how they are ensuring the participation of persons with disabilities, and access to information, Article 35 is a right of every Kenyan. So Atela, you will ask for that information from ORPP. Let's know which are those political parties that have not provided information. Ask for that information. It's a right. How many political parties have actually included persons with disabilities in their leagues? How many have registered persons with disabilities? And how many have not registered? So Atela, who is the CEO of CDOPOK, ataandika hiyo barua under Article 35 of the Constitution of Kenya. Access to information. Nimekupatia mapema. Now, Nathaniel, my friend. Yes.
Thank you. On the issue of party lists, I think you've noticed that the Commission has been very strict in terms of looking for compliance for party lists, because party lists are an election in their own right. Once someone is in that party list and the party qualifies in the relevant quotas, those people stand elected. Therefore, that party list is as important as a ballot paper that we use for marking ballots. So the Commission is very strict in looking at the compliance of party lists. You remember in 2022, 90% of the party lists that had been submitted to the Commission were rejected by the Commission, and the parties had to go and work on them again before they resubmitted the same. So the Commission is keen to ensure that that party list complies to the law. But what we will ask is we actually push our assemblies, especially National Assembly, to make sure that the law that speaks about the composition of that party list, especially at county assemblies, is very clear. When you say special interest groups, you know you've lumped together a broad range. You'll be given a list that is not fully compliant, but they ride on such generic terms like special interest groups. So if we could push for legal reforms to make sure that the categorization is very clear, so that you don't have an interpretation that is different for different political parties. It's even easier for the Commission to check for compliance when the law is very clear. If it's personal disability, like for Senate, it's very clear. Youth, personal disability and all that. But now when you come to county assemblies, it's blurred. And that's why we have that challenge of 17 county assemblies not having representation by persons with disability because of vague provisions of the law. So let us push for very clear legislation going forward to enable both the Registrar of Political Parties and also IEBC to vet those lists for compliance. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you very much. We will still be calling for stronger IEBC supervisory mandate in that. You have a role. And then for Owino and Kedipa, there's an amendment to the County Government Act 2012 that seeks to break down persons with disabilities in this lumping of special interest groups. Walemavu stand out. There's already an amendment. I think unaweza push hiyo. it was being pushed by Senator Mbogwa. Yeah, so that then people don't take advantage of a very broad term, special interest groups, which is used in the Political Parties Act and which is also used in ABC Act 2011. And because of that, thank you very much. Now, we have the person bearing the biggest burden, the biggest responsibility of ensuring inclusive participation of persons with disabilities. And this is Director, CEO, Dr. Michael Monene. The new law is very clear. Persons with Disabilities Act is rights-based. The older law was welfare-based. So this political participation is a matter of rights. How are you ensuring, as National Council, that you work with agencies such as IBC, Political Parties, Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, as well as political parties, to ensure, A, the participation of persons with disabilities as voters and as candidates? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bwana Wachira, and my fellow panelists. My name is Dr. Michael Monene, CEO, National Council for Persons with Disabilities. I can see very many familiar faces here, and I'm happy because for the first time, technically for the first time, we are having discussion on matters, participation of persons with disabilities, on political participation and all that. I think for a long time, as Dr. Kabwe can support me, I think for over 20 years, disability has been taken in the context of to be seen, not heard, as just a by the way. And that's where now, at PP, we tick the box that these parties are meeting this quota, then we can say we are. But I'm happy that we are here, that we are having the conversation. And based on the discussion I've had from my fellow panelists here, and again, based that we have a new law, the new act, whereby we are actually shifting implementation and compliance to institutions. It's good for the participating institution here, both the independent commissions, the national institution, also the county government, and that's also on the national government. The whole idea of participating, collaborating, working together. But having said that, the question of how we can be able to institutionalize inclusion in decision making and also in participation in government structures. Maybe you'll allow me, before I even go to that, because we need to understand the context, the challenges and the barriers that we as persons with disability have been encountering as lived experiences before we even discuss how we can be able to collaborate on this. And I'll be very brief because in the context of leadership, participation, political, and all that, there are 5 key areas that we need to understand. And number 1 is the high cost of participation in politics. I'm very sure all of us understand for you to be a political leader, you need, there's always that informal conversation that we need certain amount of money for us to be able to participate. And also even going to the parties themselves, they are even putting a figure for us there that we need to have this amount of money for you to be able to participate. Then of course the inaccessible campaign environment and materials. I know my fellow deaf community, Abdil and the team understand what I'm talking about. And even the visually impaired. If we are not able to access the campaign, we are not able to access materials, and this we are talking about the physical and the digital. Then it means we can't fully participate. Number 3, limited inclusion within the political party structures themselves. Because for the parties it's about, as long as we meet the affirmative action, then we don't need to include you over and above that. Then also persistent stigma regarding leadership capabilities for a long time, and I know, again, I'm speaking from experience because I'm a person with disability myself. The idea is always that because you have a disability, you are not capable, or you don't have the leadership aspect. And we are saying this becomes a major challenge. Then lastly, the multiple and intersecting form of inclusion affecting women and youth with disabilities. So we are not only talking of youth, but also we are adding also, there's the gender context, the age context, and all that. So that becomes, and then now you add again disability on top of that. It becomes now multifaceted kind of challenge. And for us now to be able to effectively collaborate with all these teams here, and even other partners and collaborators, we need, number one, advocate for disability inclusive laws. And I'm happy because we have done this. And we are in the process of implementation. And I'm happy I can see Kedipa here, I can see Saboke, I can see Abdile, I can see Dr. Kabue, because now I'm seeing all the way from the global, the local, going all the way to the political aspect. All that context, and we are able to have that conversation. That is, this is what works for us, and we need to move this way. And now, again, the new act, the new regulations that we are developing and all that. Then, of course, we need to promote accessible electoral processes, especially in collaboration with IBC. And I'm happy because I think 1 week ago, so 2 weeks, we had a very good event here at K.I.S.E. The deaf community was here. Alice, I think, was around. Isaboke. And IBC was here. And KDIP actually supported very well through Senator Sige. So I'm happy that we are talking these processes in collaboration. Then, of course, civic education and empowerment programs, advocacy. For us at the council, we support most of these organizations which are represented here so that they can do advocacy on behalf of us. As much as we also do advocacy on our part, we rely a lot on the CBOs, on the people who are here so that we can be able to advocate. Then number 4, of course, leadership development initiative, identification, mentorship, support for people we see potential in. Those people we can mold into be future leaders. So this is another area. Then of course, coordination of stakeholders. Us being a regulatory agency now, we are more or less leading the conversation, compliance, enforcement, and all that. So synchronization, I know sometimes there's a lot of gaps. And people doing more or less, you find CBOs, you find donors, you find county government, you find independent commission, you find political parties, everyone handling matters disability their own way. But we are now at a stage where we are leading the conversation, we are synchronizing, and we are trying to figure out how can everything work together for the betterment of this participation. Then lastly, one of the biggest win out of the PWD Act of 2025 is the monitoring, compliance, and enforcement of accessibility and inclusion in all areas. So I'm very sure most of the organization and panelists presented here, some have heard from us, some will be hearing from us. We are asking questions. And we are telling you, you need to do ABCD, because if you don't do that, there's a penalty waiting for you somewhere. But of course, we are not combative. We don't want to fight. We want to collaborate. That's why it's also important to hear from you what can work for you, what do we expect from you, and how do we take it from there. Thank you.
And because of that, Director Munene was diplomatic to say that we are coming for you. But I want you to look at Section 80 of the Act and notice that there is an office known as an inspector expected from the National Council that will be knocking on these doors. So notices will be issued because people have to comply and organizations have to comply. So the new law comes with stronger coordination, stronger collaboration, compliance, and stronger awareness and rights for persons with disabilities. So because of that, you're supposed under Section 80 of the Act to have disability mainstreaming units, committees, that are strong enough to address disability issues within hiyo injili mpeleke kwa ofisi. Kwa sababu Director Munene vile anasema, we are coming for you. He's a diplomatic, but it's a carrot and stick. So he'll be wielding a stick. So my friend Nathaniel, UDA gave us, the ruling party really, gave us the new law for the first time, Persons with Disabilities Act 2025. It gave us a disability policy for the first time in this country. So that law is actually the first law, Persons with Disabilities Act, is aligned to the Constitution and is aligned to the rights-based sphere that we advocate for. It also ratified the African Disability Protocol, which is very important. So for that, because of that, let's appreciate UDA. Because the sector had pushed for this for a very long time, for sure. But sufuria inaweza kuwa safi nje, lakini ndani kusikwe kusafi. Let's know about UDA structures currently, internally. How are you structured? Are you ensuring the participation as a party? Uko ndani. As a party, are you ensuring the participation of persons with disabilities in your leagues? Are your offices accessible? We want to hear such issues.
Thank you so much. And also, it is a good opportunity to listen to speak the last and to also listen to my fellow panelists here. So good morning to everyone. Is it a morning or afternoon? Good morning to everyone. Now, first of all, before I answer your question, I want to say that we have the greatest burden of leadership as a ruling party, and we wanted always to discharge that burden with utmost good faith. Then secondly, we do not wait for compliance from the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties or the National Council for Persons with Disability. As UDA, we are a reliable watchdog of our own principles internally first before we start collaborating and working with other organizations. So this is what we do. I'll be highlighting a few points on what we are doing as a party. And since we are the largest political party in Kenya, both by numbers and both by members, I'll give you a highlight of in terms of what is our mobilization strategy to include persons with disability in our rank and file. Now, to begin with, if you check with the Registrar of Political Parties, UDA has more than 8 million members across the country. So we are the largest in terms of the membership base. If you check with IBC, Albert here, we have 518 elected MCS together with 262 nominated. So we have 262. So that brings about 782 MCAs in the total number out of the 1450 members of the county assembly at the lowest level. And that goes up. In terms of parliamentary, we are the largest with over 100 members of parliament. And I'm not talking about the coalition partners of Kenya Kwanza. I'm talking about the single party called UDA. So this gives us a unique advantage to be able to champion for certain rights that are enshrined in Article 54 of the Kenyan Constitution. And you've rightly put it. It is under this regime that we've been able to make sure that our members of parliament support the Persons with Disability Bill, which is now an act, and it was a bipartisan support in parliament. So we were able to lobby through the majority leaders and the whips in parliament to make sure that this piece of legislation is supported, so that we have the landmark reforms that we so need. Secondly, as the ruling government, through our party leader, who is the president, we've been able to, we were among the first countries to ratify the African Disability Protocol. Actually, there are 15 countries who have ratified that. So Kenya was among the very first countries to do that ratification. So it takes political goodwill. So Michael, you will not be having a lot of challenges in terms of the ruling party, in terms of supporting any necessary reforms that you need at the broader level. Now, let me come to Sufuria Ndani. You said inside. If you check let me start with the basics. We have a disability league, and our chairperson is here, Bridget Songok, and we have a leadership membership of more than 200. So we've already not only put them on the periphery of their league, we are mainstreaming persons with disability throughout the other structures of the party. Also in the secretariat of the party, we have a representation. We have, he is there, he's called Nicholas Mithika. He is sitting in the secretariat of the party, which is the day-to-day management organ of the party. So in terms of championing the issues of persons with disability, we have Nicholas, who was elected by the league members to represent them in the secretariat. So, and the secretariat, he sits as an employee at the party level. Now, I'm coming now to the grassroots structures. As a party UDA, our primary focus and the lowest political unit in our party is the polling center. And we align it with the IBC structure. We mobilize from the polling center. And so far, we are the only party that has done grassroots elections across the country, where we've elected 20 people to represent the party at the polling center. And we've done elections in 27,277 polling centers in 3 phases. And we will be submitting this report with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. Now, in the structure of 20, we've put in place that one person has to be a representative of persons with disability. And we've so far, I was actually asking the ICT person to share with me the report, we have more than 30,000 persons with disability across our structures across Kenya. And that is out of the officials. We have about now, in cumulatively, 583,000 officials of UDA in 27,277 polling centers. So we are not just focusing on meeting the quotas, as Michael said. For us, we want to set the pace. We are setting the pace, and we are going far and beyond in terms of what is the bare minimum that is required. So these are some of the things we are focusing on. Now, if I come to the issue of representation, in terms of, for example, legislation, the legislative side of government, we have nominated more than 25 MCS who across the country who are sitting. That is out of the 519 who are with us. In Parliament, we have one nominated member of Parliament from Baringo. And in the East Africa Legislative Assembly, we have also one slot that went to a person with disability. So in terms of catering for that, this is what we are primarily focusing on, to make sure there is inclusion of all persons with disability in those bodies. Going to financial, in terms of financial incentives, Michael earlier in his presentation, he talked about how political parties can be restrictive in terms of the nomination fees. For us, from the moment UDA started in 2022, when we participated in the first election, we waived to zero all the nomination fees that are required from other candidates. So it is only persons with disability who pay zero in terms of nomination fees. But the rest, like the women and youth, they pay half. Then the rest of the people, they pay the full amount. So these are some of the incentives as a party we put in place. And now to give light to that comment, we put out a call in February this year that anybody who wants to run on a UDA ticket in the 2027 general election to submit the application. So far, we've received 22,500 aspirants who want to run on a UDA ticket. And 10% of those are persons with disability for different positions, governor, senator, and all that. So in terms of attracting persons with disability, we have gone all out to make sure that we have the inclusion in all our processes. And finally, just to say this, when as a party we have these advantages in terms of the numbers to push forward certain reforms, we do not hesitate to spare any effort in terms of making sure that we do it and we do it well. Why are we doing this? It's because for us, we don't just see the persons with disability there are these barriers. One of it is attitude. People have bad attitude towards persons with disability. For us, we see them as they are one of us. They are not a seclusion to be given a favor. And that's why When we were crafting in the 2022 elections, we were crafting an election manifesto as a party. We call it the plan. And eventually it is anchored under what we call the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the better plan. We specifically, when we were doing, because that manifesto, we didn't call professors or experts to sit in a room and do a manifesto for the party, no. We organized what we call 47 county economic forums, where we went across the country, meeting people in town halls, and inviting sectors, different sectors of the economic pyramid, especially from the bottom of the pyramid, the last man in the last line. And these meetings, 47 of them, we were able to collect views. So those professors who write good English in these manifestos were sitting in those meetings as rapporteurs. Their work was to consolidate those ideas into now what we call the plan, the better plan. Persons with disability sat in all those meetings, the 47 county economic forums. So in the UDA manifesto, we picked the ideas of the person with disability. So in our current implementation of the better plan, be it from the affordable housing, there is an affirmative action that out of all the more than 300,000 affordable housing program, persons with disability have been given a quarter to access. And this has been made as a policy pronouncement by the president. If you go to even the SHA packages, if you go to, for example, the market stalls, the allocation of the market stalls, especially in the PWD entrepreneurs, they have been given priority in terms of the economic opportunities. Because it is not just about representation, it is about also making sure that economic opportunities are advanced to persons with disability. So this is what we are doing. I will be happy to hear feedback on what we can do more as a political party. And because we are doing some good things, I hope you can join a UDA party, and I hope you can run on a UDA ticket and vote in for UDA for a 2-term again.
And because of that, all right, I have seen you have lobbied for your 15% from the political party's fund. But Sam, I know we've discussed very good things here, but I really wanted at least each of the roles to say something. And for Alice Bondia, what I wanted to say is that because UDA is doing some reforms, we want the language and sound mind to be out of our laws, including electoral laws, because it removes what is called legal capacity for persons with disabilities. The convention, Article 12, is against that language. If you look at who is qualified to vote and who is qualified to vie, the Constitution uses of unsound mind, which this sector is not comfortable with. Okay, sorry. I want you to ask a question, because I saw you have encountered a challenge. So, okay, that's the person who will ask. Okay. Okay.
Hello, good morning. My name is Abdile, Chair of Nairobi National Association of the Deaf. Hello, Kabwe, Mahelda. I'm wearing blue. I'm seated at the front of opposite to the Director of National Council. Na niko na bias kama Muislamu. Thank you very much for championing for persons with disability. We really appreciate you and your presence. My question is to IEBC. A few months ago, I met with the IEBC commissioner, all the commissioners, and the chair. We discussed how to share responsibilities, the challenges from the deaf community. IEBC promised they will implement, and we appreciate that. As you understand, responsibility of K.I.S.E. Thank you for thinking about K.I.S.E, working with K.I.S.E. But K.I.S.E is not responsible. It's based on special education. K.I.S.E is for training, sign language. the staff, the community, but K.I.S.E cannot employ interpreters or refer interpreters. This responsibility is purely based on deaf communities, deaf organization, deaf symbiosis. So if K.I.S.E is given this responsibility, it will give low quality interpreters. Like recently on a big event, like in Mandaraka Day, we had a national celebration. And then we had the interpreter who was low quality. When he was saying Wajia, could say Waju. And imagine this information is to the deaf in the community, deaf in Kenya, the Republic. We need quality sign language interpreters, well educated. So we need people who understand. Like now, if you know your document, your things, well, think how to train the interpreters well before you deploy them. We have so many deaf people who apply a few months and the advertise was there. There are so many deaf who came to my office. We did it online, but finally, only one deaf was got the opportunity for job opportunities. We need deaf opportunities. So that is what I'm saying. On addition, hello, my name is Jemima Apisi. I'm a member of UDA, specifically Disability League, treasurer. I would like to ask ORPP, IEBC. My question is, during the nomination list, do you, the categories, we have different categories of people with disability. How do you balance the list for persons with disability? Because I see the list is not balanced. You might find one disability getting more positions. UDA, 5% of persons with disability. Have you employed the 5% of persons with disability? Have you made sure that you said you have one employee? We have to have the 5%, the Constitution 2010 says 5% of persons with disability. So look into that. Nomination list, IBC. Most of us, we are in the list. But finally, last minute, we don't find deaf being nominated in Kenya. We only have 2 in Kenya now. What's the way forward so that this does not repeat itself? If we have a person who is there, we have a leader who can champion for us so that we not miss next time when it comes to persons with disability, especially the deaf people. Not only picking a few categories. Also, UDA, you have interpreter in the office, but you are not accessible when it comes to communication. So, we also need a deaf person to be employed in UDA, not only a specific category.
And because of that, any question here? God. Here, yeah, I think I can slot. You give me only 5 minutes, so don't worry. I can start with Fritz Bissau, then Madam Alice. One question per person.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the lengthy discussions. My question goes to the IBC. It's been said that you've said that obviously there's a lot of work being done to make sure that the barriers are removed in order to make elections and electoral processes accessible to PLWDs. But my question specifically is, what is being specifically done to make sure that ballot papers have a default braille part to them. Because when, for instance, when I voted last time, all the ballot papers were in print. So I had to have someone read for me the different candidates in order for me to vote. So what's being done to make sure that the ballot papers are in braille? I know it's an extra cost, but what specific steps are being taken to make sure that happens? Thanks.
Thank you, Fritz.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My concern is on the specific measures that have been put in place to ensure that persons with invisible disabilities vote. I know you did comment that, there's something I'd written, you did comment that clerks are trained to spot persons with disabilities earlier on. And my concern was sometimes because persons with invisible disabilities have disabilities that cannot necessarily be seen, and we are talking about persons with psychosocial disabilities, persons with intellectual disability, persons with autism, persons who are deaf. You know, it's difficult to really tell that this person has a disability and requires some accommodations during the voting process. So what measures are you putting in place also to see that persons with invisible disabilities are also recognized? And of course, also in terms of civic education, so that they also ensure that at the time of registering or any transfer to different stations, that they ensure also that their nature of disability is actually captured by the clerks. Yes. Thank you.
Let me try and get this. Yes, yes, we already have. And then I'll get a teller as well.
Okay. 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 Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible. I'm Richard from Gender and Disability Development Center, and I want to really applaud the panel and the organizations that they've represented for how far you've done to ensure that your institutions are really making inclusive political space and governance. It supports even the Article 10 on national values and principal governance. I extend the appreciation to the UDA Director of Communication. I liked your presentation, your submissions, because you had a lot of evidence aligning data, what you've done, data, the numbers, and so on. And it made the intervention, the presentation quite interesting, and we were aligning well. My concern is with the IEBC and the Register of Political Parties. I was expecting at least to have a little bit of the situation analysis with the numbers. 2022, how many persons with disabilities participated in the election? What were the success indicators and factors? And if there were challenges, what are the interventions now? Because data informs decisions. So if you can be able to do that, even narrowing down to a region, like now Nairobi, it will go a long way to assist in the planning. Still on the same data, with the just ended registration, and you said that the kits and the registration was able to capture data on disability. How many persons with the disabilities are going to vote next year? What is the geographical distribution? What is the disability types of the same persons? And what kind of interventions is IBC putting in place to ensure that their voting is going to be smooth and easy? That is a very key point that will demonstrate that we have the readiness. And lastly, we have what we call accessibility. You've talked about accessibility. What is the accessibility situations of the polling stations? And we need to have like data around it because we have the numbers so that we know actually these stations, exact stations, are accessible to persons with mobility issues, persons with visual related issues, and that we guaranteed that there is evidence-based improvement of the electoral infrastructure that you've provided. The complaints and redress mechanism during the planning and the process, actually the entire election process, actually up to the voting day and even after the voting. What is the laid down systems for persons with disabilities that will be able to address that? So with that, then we'll be able to see the readiness of IBC having the ability to handle the elections. Okay, now during the campaigns, lastly, the campaigns for the persons with disability who are going to vie, campaigns are usually chaotic. We have a lot of distress for persons with disability during that time. What are the guidelines that will be able to guarantee candidates of persons with disability during the campaign time that they'll be treated fairly, given equal opportunity to align themselves with the campaign platforms? Thank you so much. Sorry for taking too much time.
And now we have our very much respected Dr. Sam Kabwe sharing insights. And lastly, Atela.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm not sure that what I'm going to say are questions, but there are some remarks that may help us a little. Beginning with the IEBC, and I know what I'm saying ranks higher than probably the position you hold. In January 2022, the IEBC appointed what was called the Disability Inclusion Coordinating Committee. I happened to be chairing that lobby. It was an IBC outfit, although IBC never funded, we had to really find funding from elsewhere. And after the elections, you remember there were some acrimonies, and after a few months after, we had a meeting with the IBC, and in the presence of the CEO of the time, 9 of his headquarter directors, we presented our report, and they all said we will work with them. Of course, the coordinating committee was appointed for 3 years, and so its term came to an end, and we have not heard anything about that. The report we presented was appreciated, and we thought it would be implemented. It addressed quite a number of the issues that are being raised here. And the issue now is, can you help us to follow up on that? And the coordinating committee included the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, United Disabled Persons of Kenya, and quite a number of other organizations of persons with disabilities. We feel that we can move forward if those recommendations could be followed up. I understand that we need legislative reform. For instance, in the IBC, the Electoral Act provides that you cannot alter the list of parties that is given to you. And the problem with that is that each county will have several parties, and all parties will have their own list of 8 members, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in order. And quite often, people with disabilities will be number 7 and 8. And there's no way a single party in a county will have more than 1 or 2 nominees. So that's why we don't have nominees with disabilities, because they are pushed down there. And for this reason, you find that in some counties, you have 3 or 4 youth members from different parties because they were number 1 in their list. There's no person with a disability. So we feel the IBC has a problem in that, but it requires a legal reform to allow them to be able to balance if they are a youth already in the county, a woman, and there should be a person with a disability. That's the only way we could tackle that problem. And I know you'll have a problem with the political parties on that. So we also need the political parties to help us identify how they are going to accept this kind of an allowance, or in the Political Parties Act to provide a more specific way of ensuring that there is a person with disabilities in their nomination. Now, political parties, again, you have these lobbies, and in the coordinating committee that we had meetings with these political lobbies, and they have a lot of difficulties reaching the leadership of the party. They don't have a say in who the leader of the party nominates. That's why some people will arise from nowhere and they are MCAs. Well, we have people with disabilities who have been faithful to the parties and have done a lot of campaign for the parties, but they are not known. So we are finding out, how can the lobbies have a say in who is nominated? How can this disability lobbies have a say, even if it's a kind of a recommendation to the parties, so that the parties don't just nominate on their own? Otherwise, that should be the role of these lobbies to guide the parties. So can the political parties, office of the political parties, consider how this can be done, so that we move from this situation where the counties feel they have appointed a person within the special interest group, but they have not addressed issues of persons with disabilities. Then I heard you say, IBC, you are working with the K.I.S.E. K.I.S.E, as my colleague there has said, is a training institution. Why are you not working with organizations of persons with disabilities? Because they are the shoe wearers. They are the ones who know their problem is. When you ask us what is the problem out there in the field, it is the organizations of persons with disabilities who are on the ground and who can help you. So IBC, can you consider working more closely with persons with disabilities? The same with the ORPP. Can you consider working more closely with organizations of persons with it? I know you will work with the lobbies, but there are wider organizations of persons with disabilities that have a lot of information, and that is what participation is all about. People with disabilities having a say in what happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I know this time has already moved. Atela, you'll ask a very quick question, and then IBC will be able to respond in the quickest time. All the questions are actually for IBC, clearly telling you, kwa ground, mambo ni different. Yeah, Atela?
Thank you so much, Bwana Simon. Once again, my name is Joseph Atela. I'm the CEO of CDPOK. We are a national umbrella member-based organization. My question goes to the UDA. My good friend Nathaniel is our good friend, and I would start by reminding you that I hope you are aware that a number of persons with disabilities voted for this current government. And there is a disability charter that was signed during 2022 general elections. And I would just wish to know what's the percentage of that charter that has been honored by the current regime, because it was kind of assurance, and there were lots of hope from the disability sector that this is the government that was going to save us from all our problems. Number two, I would like to know if our good president is being informed about this charter or the agreements that were made, because we can hear him a lot on media and even on campaign trail, speaking about a number of development programs or issues, but not speaking about disability inclusion or any efforts to ensure that the disability sector is well taken care of. And just a quick one to Madam Bridget, a good friend of mine. We'd really wish to know where you get the allocation, the 15M allocation from. And to RPP, the best way to ensure that like the political parties are compliant to inclusive party lists is maybe ensuring that you don't fund them if they are not compliant. And this cannot just happen if you don't do amendments on your policies. And lastly, to IBC, it is our request, and we've really spoken about the party lists. So to ensure that the inclusion is done, what are you doing to ensure that the party lists are rejected if they are not totally inclusive? And being inclusive means working hand in hand with the National Council, and Council certifies the list of members that are provided there. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the very good questions. May I request IBC to respond to that? Gogo.
Thank you very much for the questions and observations that have been given. I think the first one was on K.I.S.E. I think there's something I need to clarify, that the Commission works with all organizations that deal with disability, and at the top of the list is the National Council for Persons with Disability, plus all other registered organizations that are handling matters persons with disabilities. For K.I.S.E, it was specifically for trained sign language interpreters. Now, we'll be happy. What we normally do is countrywide, we have constituency offices. So people who are experts at the Kenya Sign Language can register with our constituency offices. Not everyone may be accessible. K.I.S.E for Nairobi headquarters mostly, but for all the 290 constituencies, if you know of persons who are qualified in Kenya Sign Language, they can register themselves with the senior election officers at the constituency offices, provided they have their registration documents, they have their certificates, then they'll be considered for those jobs in the 290 constituencies. So that's the clarification I wanted to make from the outset. That all people who are qualified in the Kenya Sign Language, IEBC is an equal opportunity employer, and therefore it gives opportunities to everyone who is qualified based on the number of opportunities that are available and for the task that is at hand. So there is no restriction in terms of that. But for K.I.S.E, because they are a training institution and they train Kenya Sign Language experts, we do collaborate with them on that aspect. The issue of a nomination list, like I said earlier, it is a legal process. nomination lists are described by law. So whatever is already provided in the current legal framework, the Commission implements it 100%. What is still fuzzy, like the issue of special interest group, that is in the legal terms as it is today. Some parties, you know, it is like a gentleman decision now, because the law is loose. It's about party A decides to be inclusive, party B decides to be cheeky with that interpretation. So as long as the law is loose, IBC does not have the power to demand how a party will which names they will include in their list. What we check is, does it comply with the current law as it is? Like I said, for National Assembly, for the Senate, the law is very clear. Where it's a little bit fuzzy is at the party list for county assemblies, and you've heard from the panelists here that there are recommendations for amendment of those laws. If those laws are amended properly and it isn't, I mean, they spell out person with disability, male and female, this type of special interest groups. We do away with that term, special interest groups. We mention special people in our population, then it becomes very easy to enforce. So, but as it is, all the lists that come to the Commission and approved by the Commission are 100% compliant with the current law. There was the issue of proposal for having braille ballot papers. Yes, like I said earlier, the registration process captures the details of persons with disability, and for the specific disability, and a visual disability or impairment is one of them. So we know how many people have been registered as voters and have a visual impairment. What we don't know is whether all of them can read Braille, but at least we have that statistic. In 2013, the Commission actually, in the 2013 general election, the Commission produced Braille ballot papers, but the implementation was not top-notch. There were a number of gaps that we needed to bridge for that process to be 100% implemented by us, and also to be enjoyed by persons who needed to use Braille ballot papers. So yes, an initial attempt was made, and still more can be done. In this 1 year to the GE, I will seek for the indulgence of the person with disability to engage deeper with the Commission, especially on this part. We see whether we are ready to implement it, because the numbers will be captured in our database, and therefore the issue is to discuss, is it possible for the 2027 general election, to what extent are we implementing it? Because we must train the election officials on the one side, and also ensure that the voters also are able to use that, and it is put in our regulations. Remember, once a ballot paper is marked, it is subject to review by a court process. So we need to have it in our regulations, or at least we gazette guidelines that will enable, if let's say a court was to order scrutiny and recount of ballot papers, and it includes ballot papers that are in Braille, there must be expertise to also do participate in that process of scrutiny and recount. So it's an end-to-end process, but I'll be happy for us to engage on it further so that we can do it. Yes, the issue that has been raised about non-visible disabilities is a challenge, but yes, we'll be happy to hear from those who are experts in that particular area. How can IEBC onboard this? Because currently we are dealing with the more visible disabilities, visual, physical, hearing. We are able to deal with that at the moment. But for the others, the law in fact speaks of unsound mind, as has been. That's the only area where they talk of, and it is about someone who is disqualified from registration. But the categories you mentioned are legally, they can register as voters, they can run as candidates, so we'll be happy to receive more feedback and collaborate with the National Council of Persons with Disability to see how we can onboard these other broader categories of disabilities in our processes. We don't have the expertise in-house, but we hope we can work with partners to help us deal with that. From Richard, he asked about data-specific disaggregation of data. That data is there. It's only that I was not properly prepared to present the disaggregated data, but upon request, the Commission can give this data because we just mine it from our register of voters. Person with disability, we can drill down to the registration center where they are going to vote. We know the county, we know the constituency, we know the county assembly ward, we also know the registration center where this individual is registered to vote. What I can say is that all our polling stations are accessible to persons with disability, all of them, because for it to be considered to serve as a polling station, it must meet those basic requirements of accessibility by all citizens of this country. Then there was the issue of complaints and redress mechanisms. I think this is an issue that I'm carrying with me back to the Commission for consideration. Then the issue of campaigns, how do persons with disability, how do we ensure that they have access to campaigns? Now, once we have registered candidates for an election, we normally do a campaign harmonization meeting where all candidates, whether they are persons with disabilities or they are any other candidate, they meet and we create a campaign schedule that ensures that every candidate has access to specific venues during the campaign window. What we may not be able to guarantee at this point is whether once that session has, or that particular location has been reserved for them, they actually access it and they have no challenges. But if they are challenged, security issues, they normally report to the returning officer of that specific constituency and we handle it. Remember, the Commission has an enforcement committee for people who violate the Electoral Code of Conduct. It's called the Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee. So anyone who violates that Code of Conduct that every candidate signs, that committee deals with it. And even recently in by-elections, you saw that the Commission fined candidates whose supporters were seen to have participated in violence and disruption of campaigns. So that committee is always enforced. Once the notice of election is issued, that committee comes into force and is able to ensure that every candidate enjoys security and freedom to participate in campaigns. But if there is violation of the same, then that committee normally handles that. Dr. Kabue, I've seen him in several of our meetings. Yes, indeed, he was in that Disability Inclusion Coordinating Committee. I will take up your issues, sir, to the Commission, but this is the time when the implementation of those recommendations is coming into force. In our strategic plan and also in our election operation plan, we've put into consideration those issues that had been raised earlier. But yes, I will take back your concern about your fears whether those recommendations will be implemented so that if they are not properly captured in our election operation plan, then the same can be enhanced. And I'm sure a new committee will be formulated for the 2027 GE. So hopefully that committee will take up the recommendations of the previous committee and ensure that it has been implemented. The other issue was also on party lists. Dr. Kabue has mentioned that persons with disability are lumped together with other special interest groups, and in his observation, it says that in a list of 12, you'll find that persons with disability have been put at number 11 and 12. So if a party qualifies for only 3 seats or 2 seats, they're unlikely to get those seats. So that is true, but yes, like I said earlier, it is a lacuna in our legal framework that gives the parties the power to put them in that priority list. The commission cannot dictate what they put in that priority list. But once it is properly firmed up in law, then the commission will implement the legal provisions to the letter. So yes, champion those legal reforms. There's still room for legal reforms. That window has not been closed yet, but we hope it will be done soon, so that within the last 1 year, we will be planning on implementation. Previously, we've had challenges where laws are made too close to the election and implementation becomes a challenge. So if we can have those amendments be done in good time, we have 1 year to implement, then most of the recommendations that are coming out here are likely to find their space in the electoral process. Again, the issue of party lists from Atela is about legal frameworks. Once the legal framework is clear, I think the issue of party lists will be gone. Previously, there were bigger issues with party lists, but they have been reduced over time, and we are only dealing now with smaller refining issues. So I believe we are getting better and better with time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You can clearly see IBC. There are quite a number of issues emerging that the sector is very much interested. I think you still need to create engagement platforms. Anastasia had some, very fast, when I'm holding the mic, you had some numbers, some numbers were asked, but you had some numbers you wanted to mention?
Thank you. He had asked about us not having numbers. We actually have numbers because the Office of Registrar of Political Parties does compliance audit quarterly. So we have numbers like, I started by asking how many of us are members of political parties, because the data that we have shows that the PWD is out of the about 24, because it keep on moving, people keep on shifting political parties, so it keep on fluctuating. But we have around 24 million members overall. And out of that, it is about 203,000 who are who are persons with disability as members. So that's why I started by saying we need, because that is the first step in political participation, so we needed now to think about how are we faring on in terms of joining political parties. In terms of the governing bodies, and I know the CEO, National Council, also mentioned as one of the challenges inclusion of party in the party structure. In the party structure, we have the same challenge that Google is trying to explain, that if you look at our Act, Section 7, it is expressed in terms of women to that gender, but it's not expressed in terms of SIGs, where the ramping is and where the persons with disability find themselves. So if a political party has one person, a persons with disability in the governing body, they will tell you they are inclusive. So what do you do? Because that is the law. They should include. To the what extent, it's a problem. The Constitution have the same issue, 5% progressively. So that progressive, if somebody is at 1%, they are still progressing. So probably next year they will be at 1.5, and we are still progressing. So I think we have a lot of issues around the law. Before I return this mic, because I was given a few minutes, I want to talk to our brother, the director at UDA. He gave numbers, and I am sure you are very happy about the numbers. But I want to post something that is a challenge not to UDA, but to all the political parties and all of us, that the letter, there is the letter and there is the spirit. Because that's what we are struggling with as the Office of Registrar of Political Parties. In letter, we are good. Because if parties know, when we write sanctions, they come rushing. And they will bring, they will comply. In a few minutes, they'll have complied. But in spirit, you said we have now, so far, you have 10% of people who want to vie, or persons with disability who want to vie with UDA. I want to challenge you. Those, and the chair of the league is here, and I'm sure I'll hold her to account if I'm given the opportunity to hold her to account. The 10%, where are you wanting to place them? Because if you don't place them at the winnable positions, then it becomes just another number. That's why I'm saying the letter and the spirit must add a manner together so that we are achieving somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If you do the maths, you realize 220,000 and then 24 million, you're almost talking of 0.1%. It's actually 0.1. Na tunafaa tukue 5%. Unaona mko na kazi? Na pia sisi tuko na kazi ya kujoin pia. All right, very fast. There was a question that was very fast.
So thank you so much. I will wish to start from where Anastasia left it. And I totally agree with her and all of you here that we need to just go beyond the talking. Now, the 10% I referred to is the people who have already expressed interest to run on various positions, from governor all the way to MCAs. I'm going to get the actual data. We will share the data with you. As UDA, we are very intentional. When we have a candidate, we usually pour everything to that candidate and make sure that that candidate wins. You saw in the recent by-election, we won 90% of the by-election by being very intentional and very robust in our grassroots mobilization. Now, secondly, because we are in a democracy, and actually the theme is shaping democracy, you can never impose a candidate on the people. But what we can actually do is to use available mechanisms, for example, by means of consensus, because the law allows us to do consensus with candidates who want to run on the UDA ticket. Our election code of conduct as UDA allows us to do that. So in the coming election, and this is a challenge I'll give to the chair and the other leaders who are here, including the treasurer and Nicholas, that you must lobby us to make sure that we use more of consensus and ask the other candidates who are competing against PWD candidates to step down in their favor, so that the party can actually issue direct nomination ticket, especially in areas where we are strong, mostly in our stronghold, so that it's almost a win, a guaranteed win for these candidates. And for this reason, you have the full support of the party. So just quickly to respond to the questions that were asked by Jemima Apisi, whether UDA has 5% PWD employment, I will need to check. Because we have a staff establishment of about 200 people, I will need to check on these numbers. I don't want to give you incorrect numbers. Yes, as a party, we have a UDA interpreter who is a full-time staff, and we usually deploy this resource when we are doing our communication. So maybe we just need to enhance more of activities, or maybe we need to hire more interpreters for activities so that we don't miss out on other activities. Do we need to include a deaf person to be employed in the party? The answer is yes. I will need to check right away in terms of how many do we have a deaf. If we don't have and we have a space to employ, we will employ. And by the way, UDA has 38 offices in 38 counties. We are still establishing more offices. The Registrar of Political Parties will tell you we are fully compliant in terms of the offices. We have a minimum of 3 staff who are stationed full-time in all our 38 offices across the country. And this makes us, very reachable to many people who want to join the party. Richard, you appreciated us. We accept the appreciation, and we want to do more. You talked about PWD candidates and during the campaigns. As a party, in both the by-elections and the coming general election, we are going to deploy more than 10 million branded items. May it be T-shirts, capes, and all that. So in terms of supporting candidates, PWD candidates, we will pour all our resources there. What we usually do, we take 30% of the registered voters. So if, for example, if a constituency has 100,000 voters, we will take 30%, which is about 30,000 voters, and give you equivalent. We will give you 30,000 T-shirts, capes, scarves, and any branding item you need. This is usually our policy to support our candidates. Dr. Zachary, you mentioned about the priority in the party list. If that reform comes, and Albert, you can count on our support. If that reform comes, we are going to lobby our leadership in the House to make sure that they pass any legislation that can be able to support the PWD in terms of the prioritization of the list. And lastly, Dr. Atela, Joseph, you asked a very comprehensive question in terms of the disability charter that was signed by the President in June 2022. That was June 22nd of 2022. That disability charter encompasses so many items. I don't know whether the moderator will give me time to answer all of them, but just to tell you this, it encompasses issues of political and governance. Some of them includes the President appointing PWD to the cabinet, to diplomatic appointments and all that. I do not have the answers to that. What I can do is to make sure the PWD get a meeting with the president at State House so that he can give you a status report on the implementation of the disability charter himself from the horse's mouth. This is a request we can pass immediately, so it is just to know who is coordinating, and we pass this request to the president. And he is usually holding meetings with different groups. You usually see him online. Our communication is very clear to the public. So a meeting with the PWD, it is a welcome meeting. This one I can guarantee it will get to the desk of the president. You organize yourselves. I don't know the number. You come and the president will explain himself in terms of the implementation of the disability charter that was signed in 2022. Now, just to highlight a few things in that charter, the other issue was also the economic opportunities. For example, the issue of 30% AGPO, to ensure that there is a stricter compliance with the 30% AGPO. This he can speak to. Is it that people are just registering companies through PWDs to get opportunities for the sake to comply with the law? This we must be able. That meeting should be able to result something more meaningful. For example, there is the Financial Inclusion Fund, which we call the Hustler Fund. That fund, through the Ministry of MSME, and the PS there is my personal friend, Susan, we can be able to know the groups, the entrepreneurs, the MSME groups that are PWD-led, are they being given access to credit? For example, I know they give up to 200,000 per group. You can dial *254# and you get to see the process. How? You know, that meeting should be able to bring the different sectors to answer to the components of the disability charter in that. For example, SHA. SHA, for example, has 3 funds. There is the Social Health Insurance Fund, there is the Primary Healthcare Fund, then there is the Emergency, Chronic and Critical Illnesses Fund. Now, the PWDs who are registered members of SHA, and SHA right now has more than 32 million Kenyans who have registered, do they have enhanced packages for the PWD in the SHA benefits package? If it is not there, what needs to be done from the side of government to enhance the benefits package of the SHA? If I am the principal member of SHA and I have dependents who are PWDs, what can be done for them to get exemptions? For example, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, these kind of things. I am very sure SHA has those advantages in terms of the PWD. This data is usually picked from there is a link between government agencies and the National Council for Persons with Disability for validation purposes. So these and many other items in the disability charter, I am sure our president is capable, he will canvass it. What needs to be done in terms of reforms or administrative action will be done. He is not shy of making the correct decision. You know our president. He is not shy of making the correct decision, and including decisions that are not popular, because a good leader knows you don't have to be popular all the time, but you have to be popular at the right time. So at the right time, we will do all the politics, but right now it is to make the right decisions for the PWD and all other facets of the society. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And the right decision right now is that we actually want to break for tea. Some good news, food security. We break for tea just a bit. And the other good news is that because I still have some questions from a number of you, we'll still have the panel back here just a bit so that then we can get more questions, because these issues are very pertinent and are very core. You can see the interest that the sector has on these issues. So the dwarfism community, I can see your questions. You'll be able to ask. I can see some other questions here, quite a number. So we'll be able to get a short slot after tea for this. So MC, you can make the announcement so that the team can appreciate. Appreciate every panel member for this. Okay.
Apologies for interrupting. I just want to make very quick comments, because at the end of the day, this community you see here will always come back to me. At the National Council, I'm the voice of the PWDs, so I have also to be very keen on... basically, as much as we are having this conversation, it's not just about inclusion. How accessible are we? Our systems, our processes, our environments, all that. So it's not just about inclusion. This is very important to internalize. It's not just about inclusion, but how accessible are those inclusions, interventions you are having in place. And based on this, I think there are 3 or rather around 5 key things that we need to bear in mind and take it as a lesson as we move from here. Because at the end of the day, we need to deepen inclusive democracy, participation, and all that. And number 1, to IBC. And I know this is a conversation we are having at the back with your team and all that. But I think it's very important to ensure full accessibility of voter registration and polling centers through enforceable standards. In Mambo Sase, as a new act, we are saying we need to be accessible, but how accessible are we? And this, we should be able to guide you on this. So please, we are requesting, reach out to the council, and we find out how we can be able to ensure full accessibility. Then also, electoral information and materials, especially for the visually impaired, for the hearing impaired. Can we have this in Braille, in sign language, in audio, in easy-to-read formats? Again, we should be able to assist you in this. To UDA, to ORPP, please, we are asking, we mainstream disability inclusion within party structures, within nominations, within campaigns. It's not just a matter of diversity, equity, inclusion. We are saying, can we actually mainstream them? They become, and that's why Mr. Washira spoke about what? DMC, Disability Mainstreaming Committees and units within each and every of our institutions. And then to our MCA, to county governments, political leadership, I think it's very important also economic empowerment. We support economic empowerment, especially of aspiring leaders with disabilities. We have very good talent here within the PWD community, but they may not be empowered. So we are requesting, us at the National Council, we can only do as much as we can because we don't have the resources. But we are saying, please come in, empower them, because we also interact with them so that we can be able to see how we can strengthen PWD leadership. To IBC again, safeguarding and strengthening safeguards for ballot secrecy, especially during assisted voting. You have seen the cases we have had where political leanings may have some consequences. Even now, I'm thinking in the context of actual voting, and you're having someone assisting a person with disability to vote, someone maybe who is visually impaired. Will that have a repercussion in case the results get out that Munene voted so and so? So we need to figure out how to strengthen this safeguard. And lastly, I know also we can't just be giving instruction to others. Richard Doc there raised an important question on the issue of data, because without data you can't plan. So even us at the National Council, other stakeholders, Conrad and others, other stakeholders that we engage with, I know we have a very big duty to improve disability disaggregated data, especially for planning, monitoring, and accountability, and also deeper, all these actors. We are working on this to clean up the data, because you ask about the data, you'll hear these numbers, these numbers, these numbers. We want to synchronize this. And to my fellow PWDs, please, you can't just be demanding for things to be done from this panelist here. Are you participating? Are you putting yourself out there for leadership? We are saying we also need to move to the point of what? Nothing without us, nothing about us without us. But also, please, participate. Don't just ask, participate. Because if you can't participate, we can do our best here. But if you are not bringing yourself forward, then how are you going to benefit? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate every panelist who's been here.
That was indeed an insightful, engaging, and highly interactive. As we proceed to the tea break, kindly note that the meal cards have been issued and will be required at the meal service. Our distinguished guests will use the holding room. And please, let's go and network. And the interactive session should even continue at the tea break, okay? And then we meet back here after how many minutes? How many are saying 10? 15? 15 minutes. Now we may leave.